Hey everyone! In this video today I want to show you guys how to make this super easy and simple and very unique twist on a regular candy stripe. I was kind of perusing Bracelet book the other day, just trying to find patterns that I could work on or patterns that I could even make videos on, and I stumbled across this one. I would almost consider this like a sort of stitched effect. I don't even know what you would want to call it. So it's kind of constructed the same way, but it has this really interesting effect to it when you just use two different colors, and it's more of a traditional sort of candy stripe where you have these blocks of colors. So if you want to learn how to make something really simple today, then keep on watching. So for this bracelet, you only need 2 colors, and it only calls for 10 strings, which means you will need 5 strings of each color. Now, when I was making this bracelet here, I measured out my strings more or less 40 inches, and I would say for a 6-inch bracelet, that is quite a lot of length, even with these ties on the end that I made here, and these are pretty long ties. But you can see here, I still have all of this string left, and obviously I used this orange color first because I have all of this yellow string left. So adjust that accordingly to what you need for your bracelet length. Now this pattern works really well for a half triangle end, and I will show my knotting process of that, but if you want an in-depth tutorial, go ahead and click in the top right corner. I will have a tutorial linked that you can follow. Now after I finish my half triangle start, I'm gonna adjust my strings a little bit and kind of put it in this sort of diagonal shape, because that's just kind of how candy stripes work. This one is more backwards, but when you work up a candy stripe, it just has that tendency to sort of slant downwards. So if you don't want to make this triangle star, I would definitely recommend making your first row very loose and sort of intentionally slanted down, so that way when you work up the bracelet, it'll make this shape very easy. Otherwise, you're going to be trying to make your strings go straight across, like maybe an alpha, and it will eventually work up the way it needs to, but it'll just take a lot more work. So if you're making this triangle end, I would recommend just kind of situating your strings a little bit, and obviously this is completely optional. So for this pattern, you will want to have all of your strings in one color on the right side, and then all of your strings in the second color on the left side. And this is an incredibly simple pattern to make. It is very repetitive and quick, very easy, so I have no doubts that you will be able to work this up super well. So we're going to take our outermost right strand here, which is my yellow string, and we are going to do 4 backward knots onto the next 4 strings to the left of it, so that will be the rest of my yellow strings here. And then, to sort of start this stitched effect, you will take the next 2 strands in line, which will be your second color, and you're going to take each strand and do a forward knot onto this leading strand. So we'll take the next string in line and do a forward knot onto the string to the right of it. And then we'll pick up the next one in line and again do a forward knot onto our leading strand. And then you're gonna pick up the leading strand again, which is our first color over here, and we are going to do backward knots. So once again, onto the rest of the strings to the left of it. So that'll be these 3 strands here of our second color. And this is what we will repeat 3 more times. So again, take your newest outermost right strand, which will be our first color here on the right side, and again, you will do backward knots onto the next 4 strings to the left of it, but this time you'll see we actually have the first strand of our second color, and then the next row will be 2, next one is 3, so on, but let's not get ahead of ourselves here. Go ahead and do your 4 backward knots. And then again, we're going to take our next 2 strings in line here, and we are going to do forward knots onto our leading strand. So we'll take this first one in line and do a forward knot. And then the next string in line, again, do a forward knot onto the leading strand. And then we are going to do backward knots onto the rest of the strings to the left of it, so we have the rest of our second color, and then we have the first string of our first color. And now that we have our bracelet just a little bit more established, this is where I want to kind of tilt it even more so that my right side is more straight down instead of going off this way. Just makes it easier for me. And then again, we're going to come to our outermost right strand, and we are going to do our 4 backward knots onto the next 4 strings to the left of it. So we've got the 2 strands of our first color and the 2 strands of our second color. And then again, with our next 2 strands in line, we are going to do forward knots onto our leading strand. So take the next one in line and quickly do a forward knot. And then the second one, do a forward knot again. And then take your leading strand again and do backward knots onto the rest of the 3 strings to the left of it. And then we are going to repeat this one more time. So come back to your outermost right strand and do your backward knots onto the next 4 strings to the left of it. And again, you'll take your next 2 strands in line and do forward knots onto the leading strand with them. So we'll pick up the string in line first, do our forward knot, and then we'll pick up the next one and do a forward knot. And then again, pick up the leading strand again and do backward knots across the next 3 strings to the left of it. And then for this final row with our final strand of our first color, we are again going to do backward knots across the next 4 strings to the left of it. And now this time, for this 5th row here, we have this last string left of our second color. So that means we are only going to take this strand and do a forward knot onto the leading strand. So instead of the 2 knots like we've been doing before, it is just this one. And then, because we only did 1, we have 4 strings left. So that means you will pick this leading strand back up and do backward knots onto these next 4 strings to the left of it. And that is literally all you do for this whole pattern all the way down until you have it completely worked up. And you'll see that your colors have now swapped places, so that means your orange will be the prominent stripe for the next section, and then it'll go back to yellow, orange, yellow, or whatever colors you had, obviously. And you just keep repeating that until you make up your whole bracelet. So with your second color, the steps are all going to be the same. So if you need to play this video back, you can play it exactly from this timestamp here, and you can just keep following the video over and over until you have your full bracelet complete. And obviously, depending on where you're watching it back, your colors might be flipped, but it's still the same steps. And it's very easy and should hopefully be pretty easy for you to understand. At least I truly hope so. So thank you guys so much for watching this super quick video today. I really hope you enjoyed following along to a much simpler pattern, and I will see you guys in the next one.